hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to another episode of the Indigo Womb Wisdom Podcast. I'm your host and sister friend, Shatia T. Owsley, and thank you for watching and or listening. So sit back, grab some tea and a notebook, and let's vibe together as we have organic and practical conversations embracing intuitive womb wisdom, spirituality, and a sprinkle of magic to rebel, restore, and radiate overall wellness in our lives. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Indigo Womb Wisdom Podcast. I am your host and your sister friend, Shatia T. Owsley, and I would just like to welcome everyone to our conversation today. Today, we are joined by a conscious creation embodiment coach and the founder of Keys Goddess House, where spiritual entrepreneurs who look accomplished on the outside but feel unfulfilled on the inside come to claim a powerful relationship with their intuition and lead aligned lives with soul level confidence. Today, I would like to introduce our guest, Miss Keondra, aka the lovely Miss Keys. Hey, girl.
Hey.
Miss Key's signature truth is your feelings matter not because they are facts, but because they are your creative power. And this guides her work in helping women trust their inner knowing and take inspired action towards the life they're meant for. As she shifted from self abandonment to trusting herself, Miss Keys rebuilt her confidence from the inside out. She learned how to move from an anxiety to assurance, from performing to genuinely being, and from feeling lost to feeling home within herself. With internal alignment came confidence, joy, and a reality that finally felt like hers. And now she helps other women experience the same shift. I am so excited to get into this topic today with you. Thank you for being here today.
I'm excited too. As I'm hearing it, I'm like, ooh, the juices are flowing. Let's
Yeah.
go.
Yes. Well, listen, let's not keep the people waiting. Let's go ahead and dive right in. How did this start? Tell us a little bit about your story and how this journey began for you.
So again, my journey started with experiencing a lot of, I used to call it loss. I'm calling it lessons now, but it was a heavy period of just things falling away during my Saturn return. For those who are familiar, that happens around age 27 to 30 when Saturn goes back into the place that, you were born in. And that's the planet of like structure and discipline and all of that kind of stuff. I did not have it. And Saturn was like, girl, you don't. So all of the things that did not reflect the structure of me being disciplined with myself, those things started to fall away. It was my car, it was my house, it was a relationship, it was just back to back, a job, all within the period of maybe about 6 to 9 months. So it was a lot. And it shook my confidence, which I felt like at that time, I didn't even know that I had confidence. I didn't know where that was at. So it was just a lot for me to be able to deal with all those losses. It makes you look at yourself like, dang, okay, what you got going on, girl? Because you're losing all this stuff. So what are we doing? What are we doing? And it felt like almost like a loss of self at that point because I had so much attachment into the things, into the other people, into the external. It felt like, okay, I'm losing me, and it happened during the time of the pandemic. So all I had, girl,
Ooh.
yes. So all I had was just this time to sit with myself and be like, okay, well, this is where we at. It was no escaping. It was no going out and doing things to distract yourself. It was none of that. It was just me and all of the things. But the career that I was in, it actually reflected a lot back of the loss that I had. I work in the financial industry and people who are dealing with debt and with debt, it can come with loss. A lot of people do go into debt because they are losing things. So I was hearing a lot of my story reflected back during the pandemic as well. And it caused me to have to reflect because that's all I hear. I'm either hearing it from my clients or it's my story that I'm reflecting on. And it was just this cycle of that. Had to sit with me. I had to figure out, okay, because now I'm miserable. I'm hearing all of these things all over. It's weighing on me a lot. And I don't like being miserable. I was a happy person. I was a outgoing and, talkative, and that was not me. I was very irritable at that time. I was very sensitive to every single thing. Everybody and everything got on my nerves. So it was a lot of that, and I had to sit with me, and I had to figure out, "Okay, Keondra, so where did you go, and who are you?" Because obviously you don't have the things that you thought were you anymore, but you're still here. That has to mean something. So it was a lot of self-discovery during that time, and the pandemic fortunately gave me all the time I needed to figure it out. It gave me all the time that I needed to figure it out, and so that's where things started for me. I went on that self-discovery journey during that time.
I think as a collective, although the pandemic wasn't what we wanted, it was what we needed in order to slow down and to really be.
Yeah.
And that can be a very scary thing in the world that we live in, where everything moves so fast and everything is hustle culture and grind culture. You sleep when you're dead type of mentality. There were a lot of losses during the pandemic. I think a lot of people were found during that time as well. They were able to find themselves. So, how would you define conscious creation?
So, conscious creation, it has a few different pieces. It's one, being aware of what your thoughts are, your beliefs are, your feelings are, and then taking action that's aligned with that. So, there's a lot of different parts of us where it's like we tend to react to things in life. We're just automatically doing whatever happens. If something good happens, we're happy. If something that we don't like happens, then we have an attitude, we're mad, we're sad, what have you. And so we're just reacting to life. We're not actively creating it. When we take that moment to slow down and be aware, okay, how do I feel right now? What do I think about this? What do I believe about this? And we take those different things and we align them with what I like to call our highest good, our higher self. Then we can start consciously creating life. We're not doing things from a reactionary standpoint. We're responding to it, and we're responding to it in a way that can create what we would like to happen. Not just what we would like to happen, but the things that we're called to make happen. We're able to create from a place that aligns us with, again, our higher self. So that's where conscious creation starts to come in.
And so, how does the embodiment change the way people manifest or create change within their lives? What does
Mhm.
that look like?
Yes. So that's the thing. We can't just know it, right? I think a lot of us get really caught up in knowing how to manifest. I love asking people if they've ever heard of the law of attraction, and they can tell me every single thing about the law of attraction. Yeah, I read The Secret. Yeah, I saw the movie, blah, 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 right? And it's like, it's so much more than that. Yes, we can know it, but if we're not living it out in our day to day, and that's where conscious creation comes in, because you have to embody it in order to consciously create. It's those moments where, let's say, we're having a conversation with our child's father and things aren't going the way that we would want it to go. And we can react the way that we would have normally react, but if we're consciously creating, if we're embodying law of attraction, if we're embodying being a conscious creator, then in that moment, we do have to slow down and be intentional about how we respond to things. When we do that in our day to day lives, in the moments that we would typically just do whatever society says is best, whatever our upbringing, our culture, the just what we've been programmed to believe is the way to go, then that's when we can actually start to embody a different way of being. When you start to take that moment in every single thing that you do, which is really hard. I think, and I always say that's the kind of work that I love. People always look to and say, it sounds like you're trying to take the easy way out. Nah, this is hard work, baby. Easy to be in those moments where you want to react, where you may have all of these feelings where you legitimately have a reason to have an attitude. You can justify exactly what you're doing and why you're doing it. However, what are you embodying in that moment? What are you creating more of in that moment? And when you slow down to do that work, that's a lot of internal stuff that's going on. That's a lot of rewiring that's happening in those moments. And to be able to practice that continuously, that's where we start to see the embodiment of conscious creation, the embodiment of law of attraction. That's where that comes in.
Yes, I completely and totally agree with you. And I am so happy that you explained it the way you have, because I think there is so much information out here. What I appreciate with your explanation is that you gave a truth that a lot of people who speak on manifestation don't really talk about too much. And that is, it is a mindset shift. It is the rewiring of your brain, and it is being extremely intentional about how you move. And it starts with your daily practices. As you mentioned, the best way to embody the changes that you are discussing and the changes that you want to consciously create, right?
Mhm.
Is how do you respond in traffic when you
Yeah.
miss the light?
That's the biggest one. I say that all the time. Listen, it's those moments. I swear traffic is the thing where it's like, I know this is the universe's setup because so many people be quick to lose it in traffic. You all good everywhere else, but as soon as you get behind that steering wheel, you cussing everybody and their mama out. And oh my God, traffic is the one. Traffic is the one. How do you respond in traffic, girl? Tell me about it. Yes, you right.
That is where you are, that's where you're practicing every day. This is truly a practice.
Mhm,
Conscious creation is a practice, just like breath work is a practice and yoga is a
mhm,
practice. And if
mhm,
you're learning tarot or astrology,
mhm.
my son plays soccer. I tell him all the time, how do you get better? How do you live and breathe it? You practice. You have to
Yes.
continue to put yourself in situations that
Mhm,
allow you to practice what you have
mhm,
read or what you have
mhm.
watched or you're not going to get it by osmosis. I don't care what
Mm.
nobody say. You going to have to practice. You just going to have to practice. And so I appreciate that so much. I think because we spend a lot of time intellectually trying to make things happen. But
Mhm.
this type of work is spiritual work. It is,
Yes.
like you said, it is embodiment type of work. It is a feeling type of work. A lot of times it's getting out of your head and stepping into your heart and into your body. And that can be an uncomfortable place for many people. So when you're working with your clients, how do you introduce tapping in and being present in the
Mhm.
body?
Mhm. Ooh, I love that. So one of the things that I love to do, I call it the sacred pause, right? And in that sacred pause, it is that moment where I actually do a little bit of the mind because that's where people start at, but it's a way to bring you back into the body because we're so much in the habit of being in our mind. Okay, that's where you're comfortable. Let's start there and let's work our way back into the body. So when we're thinking about when you ask somebody typically how they feel, right? They start telling you about their thoughts. They start telling you about what happened, but not necessarily how they feel. They're not describing an emotion, they're describing a thought pattern. So let's take a look at that. Now, once we do have all of the things that we're thinking about this situation. Now we're going to describe where that lands for us in our body. Does that make our shoulders feel tense? Does that make our back hurt? Do we hunch? So when you're thinking about that, where do you feel it? Right. And then when you feel it in your body, when you're thinking about, I have this attitude about this thing and I'm feeling it in my body. Sit with it for a moment. Take that moment and just breathe through it. So it's getting people used to being able to think something and bring it down and sit with it. We don't always have the words. And I think this is what makes talking about feelings and emotions so difficult. We don't always have the words to describe the emotion that we're feeling. So we do lean heavily on talking about the thought patterns. So sit with it. Take all of that information and just breathe it into your body. Okay, I'm thinking this. And as I'm thinking this, I feel my shoulders. I'm aware of my shoulders. That's something that I like to do. Just be aware of the different parts of your body that start responding as you think about this. I notice sometimes when I'm doing this now, I feel my hair on my neck so prominently. Like, why am I so aware of my hair on my neck right now? Like it's poking me. And sometimes I want to move it and get it out the way, but I sit with it and I breathe into that point of wherever I feel called to. Maybe my ankle itches all of a sudden, right? Where am I feeling energy at in that moment? And as we start to practice just being aware of where we're feeling energy at, then we can going back into it, it is a practice. We do this over and over, right? We be aware of this over and over. As we have that awareness, our body starts to talk to us. We start to hear different things that we may have not been aware of before because we're paying attention in a different way. You were just in your head before. You were just thinking these thoughts before. You weren't paying attention to where you were feeling this at in your body. You weren't paying attention to how this makes your back feel when you have this thought. You weren't paying attention to the fact that you start raising your shoulders up closer to your ears. You weren't paying attention to this. But as we start to pay attention to those things, our higher self starts to communicate with us differently. We're open to receive different messages. It's not up to me to give you the feelings or to name those for you. Sometimes I am able to say, okay, well, does it feel like this? But when you can be aware of what you feel and where, then you'll start getting those messages on your own and you'll be able to decode it. Things start coming to you, those synchronicities. It's like, oh my God, I was feeling this and now I'm feeling that same feeling as I see XYZ happening. And it helps us start to name different emotions. It helps us start to be with our body in a different way. So that's how we practice that.
That's another part of the embodiment process. How do you explain the nervous system and how they can learn more about it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't really specify that it is about the nervous system, more so the habits that we build, even though it really is, right? What I think about when I'm having these interactions and explaining this to my clients is the fact that we have these habits that we're so used to doing. And this is where our nervous system comes in. We have these neural pathways where it's like, okay, let me go ahead and do this because this is what I'm used to doing. That's already been formed. That's something that we've already been doing. So when I'm explaining that to someone who's unfamiliar, your body is used to reacting in a certain way. Your mind is used to reacting in a certain way. So when something happens that you have experienced before, its automatic reaction is to do what it knows that kept it safe before. That's going to automatically happen. It's not because you're choosing it, because if we're choosing it, that's where conscious creation comes in, right? So it's happening because it's automatic, it's familiar, it's what kept you safe before, but we want to start to change that. When we start to change it, we already know that they talk about how building a new habit takes 21 days, right? We have this period of repetition. When we start to pick up new habits habits, when we start to say, okay, I want to do things differently. You brought up this earlier, and I love this because I hear all the time how people are like, I want to make a change. I'm going to do XYZ. And then such and such comes up. And they're like, oh my God, why does this keep happening? I already said that I want to do, whatever it was. And it's to practice, right? And the reason why we're practicing is to build that new neural pathway so that our nervous system can respond a different way. It hasn't fully connected yet. We haven't fully built that automatic response. So we have to practice through it. Someone who's coming new to me just needs to understand, hey, what are you used to? What are you used to doing? And what do you want to become used to doing? How do we practice getting used to that? How do we practice going in that direction? So we're not even going to talk about, hey, this is your nervous system that's trying to respond this way. We just want to build a new habit that we can practice until it becomes automatic. And life will definitely give you the chance to do it. As soon as you say you want to make a difference, it's going to pop up 10 different things that goes against what you said you wanted to show you, okay, is this what you want? Do you really want to respond that way? And it's not a test, it's not a punishment, it's an opportunity to practice.
Girl, the traffic. There you go.
Yeah, exactly. Listen, that as soon as you get in the car, it's gonna be like, what you wanna do? You're gonna be like, yeah, I got somewhere to go. Let me go ahead. And it's gonna be traffic you did not expect. And how do you respond to it? Are you still in
Yes.
alignment, or is everybody and their mama out to get you?
Absolutely. What are some of the most common unconscious patterns or beliefs that you see holding people back from progressing in their personal development?
Waiting for someone else to change so that you can be happy, waiting for something external to happen so that you can feel the way that you want to feel. Say a lot, and again, one of my core truths is your feelings matter, right? And again, it's not because it's a fact, but because when you feel something, it becomes what you create from. You're moving through that energy. All of the things that you're now doing from that point are stemming from how you feel in that moment. So when we are waiting for someone else to make a change in order for us to be happy, we're really just depriving ourselves of a moment to be happy. You chose a different emotion. And I think that's something that's really hard for people to grasp. I know it was hard for even me to grasp that I am choosing to feel a different way than what I want to feel. At a certain point, it does become a choice. Used to have on my board, happiness is a choice. My mom used to say that to me all the time as a child, and I roll my eyes so hard because it was when she would do something that makes me irritated, and then you gonna tell me happiness is a choice, girl? What are you talking about? Like you just did this, and you gonna tell me happiness is a choice? You're wild, but it is. It truly is a choice. You can choose to be happy despite what someone else is or is not doing. That's up to you to decide. So, one of the biggest things is waiting for something else to happen before we decide to feel the way that we want to feel. Do it now. That's one thing you easily have control over. That's solely up to you how you feel. That's one of the biggest things. The other thing is not being honest about how we feel. We swallow it so much that we begin to not even know for ourselves how we truly feel because we've swallowed that truth and we've adopted somebody else's truth. So not only are we not choosing to feel how we want to feel, we're not admitting it to them, we're not admitting it to ourselves, and now that has kind of fallen to the backside. We haven't stepped into, we haven't claimed it, and then we're upset with other people when they have not given us what we need. We haven't given it to ourselves. We haven't even admitted it to ourselves. So
Mm.
that's the other side of it. Yeah.
Um, I feel like that's a great segue into on how the body stores our limiting beliefs and stores our
Oh.
experiences, our
Mhm.
emotional blocks. What are some ways that people can release those
Mhm.
things, right?
Mhm.
And do it in a safe environment? One of those things that you just mentioned was speaking up and speaking your truth. But do you
Mhm.
have any other practices that
Mhm.
someone who is walking this healing journey can implement as well?
So, really big on speaking it. The thing is that we don't even have to speak it to someone else for it to start making a difference. Start speaking it to yourself. I started doing voice notes in my phone, and that was so cathartic for me, being able to just get it out of me. Just being able to get it out of myself and put those words out there, it changes how we're able to move through things. We're not holding on to it anymore. It's not something that we're internalizing. So do a voice note. Talk to yourself about the way that you feel verbally and record it. Maybe you may play it back. I know I love doing this. I actually listen back to my voice notes from years ago, and I'm able to see the things that I believed at that time about who I was, about what I could do, and where I'm at now, and the differences between that Keondra and the Keondra that I am now. It's night and day, and it's empowering to know that it started with just me saying it to myself. So that was the first thing that I did. And then movement. Another thing that I love to do is get out in nature and walk. Getting that, like, just moving as you're having these thoughts, it makes a different nature will take all of that in, and it's so simple. It's so simple. Just being out in nature, the amount of clarity that you get, and that clarity comes in the form of those limiting thoughts that we may have, those beliefs that we may have as we step into nature. As we're out there, our mind clears and we're able to see things from a different perspective just by being in nature, just by sitting there. Go sit under a dang on tree. Do something, right? But that movement, along with being able to vocalize what it is that you are feeling, those things make a huge, huge difference. And a part of my conscious creation framework, I'll call it, is being able to, one, be aware of what those beliefs are. What are the thoughts that are coming up? Then taking those beliefs and then saying, okay, well, is this how I want to feel? From that point, I'm going to choose what it is that I prefer. I'm really big on preference practice. Just because we think these things, just because we feel this way, again, does not mean that it is the truth. So find out the truth about who you are and compare that to what you're currently believing about yourself. And then choose, am I going to continue telling myself this story, or am I going to tell a different story? I'm really big on the words that we use. It has so much power. We often say things like, I'll hear some of my clients say after they tell me a story, they're like, it wasn't that bad, but they did really good, right? Those words matter. So instead of saying it wasn't that bad, that was really good. I'm really proud of that. Be conscious of these words that we're using, be conscious of the thoughts that we're having, and move through them. Don't let it just sit in your body. Move with it. Tell a different story about what you're going through. Don't keep repeating the same limiting belief story that you had, especially if you outgrew it. If you started to see the other side of it, but you're still telling a story about how you felt before you understood from a different lens, then you're going to be very inclined to experience that again because you're still moving through that story. Move through life with a different story from yourself, from that perspective of this is who I truly am. This aligns with my beliefs in regards to who I am becoming, who I am called to be. Move through life in that way. When we can start to shift from there, when we can be aware of those beliefs and we can start to move our body, literally moving through life again, taking that walk does wonders. I started off just going through a park and walking in circles. And that alone, as I as I stepped outside of that, my life started to change. I started to have different paths that I could walk through. All it takes is something real simple. It doesn't have to be grand. Start with you.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the audio notes. I send audio notes to people in text message.
Mhm, mhm. Mhm.
And I do have some old audio notes. I'm a writer, so I love
Okay.
to write pen to
Yeah.
paper. And I have a couple of friends who are writers as well. And we have these conversations about these journal entries that we
Mhm.
write about. And, every now and again, be like, girl, I found a journal from this time ago and I went back to read it. And I remember one of my really good girlfriends, she was like, girl, I'm surprised they ain't locked me up somewhere and put me somewhere based off of the stuff that I was writing up in these
Yes.
journals. But
Mhm.
it's just so refreshing,
Mhm.
to see your evolution and how
Yeah.
you grow. And it doesn't mean that challenges won't come, but
Mhm.
what I am appreciating about the journey is that when you are open to learning a different way of handling the challenges,
Mhm.
you are able, as you said, to respond differently. And then the universe responds in kind to what you put back in the world. And so I think that that's beautiful. Are there any other tips that you would like to share?
Sometimes we have so many jackets, so many things that we're wearing at once, and it can get really heavy having all of these different jackets on, all these different roles, especially for those of us who maybe like to call us high achievers, right? We have so many things that we're really good at, and we do. Find a moment to be able to take off the jacket, and it's a visualization kind of thing. Start by sitting with yourself and seeing what's no longer needed. What am I wearing that I really don't have to wear anymore? That visualization can be so powerful in being able to take the next step. Sometimes we're stuck and can't move because we're holding on to too much. So take that moment, see what you're wearing, and then start to release those jackets. Just take them off slowly. Visualize that.
Before we close out our time together, is there closing remarks,
Yeah.
quotes, or just anything?
Yeah, absolutely. Right now, the biggest thing that I want people to sit with, if there was one thing that I could just implant again, is that your feelings matter. We move through life so often feeling like we have to be on go and perform for everyone else to be able to be successful. And in order for us to truly feel successful, we first need to be able to be there and present for ourselves and see, okay, how do I feel about this? What makes me feel successful? Not on the outside, not when things look good to the people around us or even look good to us. Sometimes it looks really nice to us, it looks beautiful on paper, but we feel empty inside. We feel disconnected inside. We feel disempowered or disregarded inside. So I want to encourage you to take a moment to do that internal review. Sit with yourself and ask you, how do I feel in this moment? Do I feel good? And if you're in a moment, if you're in a season where you feel like you're moving through life just to externally look good, but it's not connecting inside, I want to encourage you to make a change. Do something different. The shift starts when you believe that it starts, and it can start here. So I want to encourage you to do that. If you do need any help with it at all, I do run a seasonal cohort. It is actually called The Shift Starts Here. And with The Shift Starts Here, I'm working with women who tend to be self abandoning and reconnecting them back to themselves, reconnecting them back to the part of them that has the power to change how their life looks. We're going to start consciously creating our realities from the inside out. So if that's something that you feel like you're wanting support in, come holler at me.
Yes. Well, that's a great
Mm.
segue. Come on.
Yes.
Drop the socials and the contact information,
Hey,
Miss
yes,
Mia.
yes.
Where
Socials at
can we
Keys
find you?
Goddess House. You can find me on Keys Goddess House on Instagram and Threads. You can find me at Soul Healing Keys on TikTok.
We are
Yeah.
going to make sure that we are loving on you and connecting with you and supporting you as you continue your own personal healing journey, but as you continue to pour out into the world and help the collective to consciously create Before we close, there's always one
Yeah.
question that I ask our guests before we leave. And
Okay.
so that question is, with all of your lived experience,
Mhm.
everything that you've been through, what would you go back to tell little Miss Keys?
Well, I get chills when you said that. It just ran up my arm. We've been talking about it, but consciousness creates. I was running on autopilot for so long, and that changed my life when I realized that how I consciously move through reality literally creates what I'm moving through. I was able to take my power back. So if I could tell little me anything, she would take off running with it. Consciousness creates. That makes the difference.
Yes. Well, I
Yes.
want to thank you so much for being here with us today. We
Mhm.
are sending you so much love, and we cannot wait to see what you birth in
Thank you.
2026 because we know it's
Yes.
going to be epic. And we are sending you all the good juju, all the love, all the hugs, and all the goodness your way. I want
Thank
to
you.
thank
I
everyone
receive.
for watching, and we will see you in the next episode. Peace.